I hate to admit it, but we're back here again. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Kemikoto. And by me. In light of the fact that biological women are constantly being undermined and erased, I made some shirts for us. With actual female shirts, not unisex ones. Sorry, lads. But fear not, I do have some man merch coming. That will be the second part of this drop, so to speak. But if you do have any suggestions in the interim of things that you want printed on shirts that you would be interested in wearing, and other people might be interested in wearing, let me know, because I freely admit at the moment my creative juices are not flowing as nicely as I would like. And, you know, I'll just take your suggestions because often they're better than mine. Now, as you all well know, I love bringing you serious stories and conversations. I love me a good old-fashioned deep dive. But every so often, a story comes onto my radar that is too ridiculous not to tell you guys about because, as you well know, if I have to see it, so do you. As you also well know, and because we live in a society, one of the new prevailing narratives is that men can get pregnant. You see, this has led to the erasure of words like mother and things surrounding motherhood. Now, in replacement, we have chest feeding, milk of the birthing parent, paternal seed pod. Yeah, I made that last one up. But how long until it's a reality? So in order to promote tolerance and inclusivity, we have completely changed our comprehension of pregnancy, of motherhood, and the generality of incubating tiny pudding people. In fact, if you do a cursory search on any misinformation pathway, you'll find that the concept of men being pregnant is no longer a fringe one. Healthline, for example, who I'm pretty sure referred to women as vulva owners, still not to be confused with the car, says yes, it's possible for men to become pregnant and give birth to children of their own. In fact, it's probably a lot more common than you might think. It's not. I gotta be honest, this is not helping my desire to move to Jupiter. It gets worse, doesn't it? Yes. Yes, it does. Some people who have a uterus and ovaries are not on testosterone and identify as men or as not as women. As not as women. May wish to become pregnant. Or as not as a woman. What am I reading here? I mean, it makes sense they put this horrific sentence together, given that later on in the article it goes on to say that there's nothing inherently feminine or womanly about conception, pregnancy, or delivery. No body part nor bodily function is inherently gendered. What? If your body can gestate a fetus and that's something you happen to want, then it's for you too. So, you know, there's that. There's nothing inherently feminine or womanly about conceiving and giving birth and being pregnant. The one thing women do, can do, and have been doing since forever. Apparently that's not special. And words and biology have no meaning. And soon they'll be incubating babies in the abdomens of men. Which will make sense if you keep watching this video. I love how feminism has come so far that it denies uniquely female traits. Someone should call our friends over at Feminist Island and give them the good news. They defeated the patriarchy by becoming the patriarchy. Anyway, this is where the discussion is at. I was not surprised to hear of midwifery students in Scotland being taught that biological males can get pregnant and give birth through their surgically created penis.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I feel a little bit like Hercules jumping into the pit of souls, except unlike Hercules, I don't want to come out. Students at Edinburgh Napier University were initially provided biologically impossible instruction on giving care to males who were pregnant and in labor. In a module about caring for women during childbirth, the students were initially provided a skills workbook on catheterization that contains significant guidance about handling male anatomy and caring for biologically male birthing people. It is important to note that while most times the birthing person will have female anatomy, you may be caring for a pregnant or birthing person who is transitioning from male to female and may still have external male anatomy. And honestly, this is one of the most bizarre things that I've seen in a very long time. And this is being taught to future midwives. But you know what else is really bizarre? The ad I made for today's wonderful sponsor, Kamikoto. Some people don't believe that I'm a knife whisperer. That isn't a thing.
You're very pretty. Please cut the steak.
They don't believe that I can sharpen a blade with my mind. Still not a thing. But unfortunately, not everybody can whisper to steel. And if that is you, don't fret. This is why you need Kamikoto in your life. Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives. They are extremely sharp and have a single beveled edge that makes cutting and slicing easy and fun. Which is why they're used by Michelin star chefs. Kamikoto steel is sourced from mills in Japan, and each knife goes through a rigorous 19-step process to ensure their top-notch quality. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee.
You are a great man, chosen for battle.
Now defeat my enemies!
And the good news is, if your knife drawer usually looks like Edward Scissorhands vomited in it, fear not, because Kamikoto knives come in beautiful ashwood boxes, perfect for storage or gift giving.
Especially good for Mother's Day.
Personally, I'm especially fond of my black pirate knives, which cut everything like butter. No exaggeration. So even if you aren't a knife whisperer, but you still want your knives to be epic, then click the link in the description and check out Kamikoto today. They're already having an awesome sale, but you can also use code Sydney for an additional $50 off any purchase. Now, in case you missed it, and just to reiterate, this university is teaching about pregnant biological males. People who have no physical capabilities to grow or sustain a fetus. Even the Psycho Healthline article that we just sampled acknowledged that hairy seed pods cannot give birth. Where does the baby come out? Where do they think the baby comes out? This article goes on to tell us that the workbook informs students that they need to be familiar with procedures for both men and women. And because both females and males might be giving birth, they use our favorite term, birthing people.
Every birthing person.
Birthing people.
Pregnant and birthing people.
Birthing people.
Birthing people.
Birthing people.
Birthing people.
Birthing people.
Wow, such progress. Now, the images from this book show us very clearly they consider a male a birthing person. It also gives special instruction on the removal of catheters with consideration for the prostate gland, which, as far as I understand, only men have. Male anatomy. Clean the meatus. Okay. Clean the meatus. Meatus! Ah, God, no. This is not the world I live in. Reality is too much. Clean the meatus and make the person comfortable. I'm sorry, that did me in. It's been a long lifetime. Now, obviously, this story blew up, and in response to the deserved backlash, the staff who I am assuming wrote this handbook in the first place decided to change some things. They changed language surrounding male and female, but kept all references to male anatomy, like the man pickle and the prostate gland. Apparently, the handbook also added the suggestion a female to male transgender person could give birth through a surgically constructed penis. No! No, they cannot! No! No! I mean, I know university as a general rule is a giant bag of dirt, but it's just, it feels so irresponsible to be teaching this sort of thing to future midwives, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here and assume future doctors as well. In this article, it's also noted that most females who use testosterone at the doses used for transition will develop vaginal atrophy. The fragile tissue of the atrophied vagina may be unable to stretch to accommodate a baby's head. It's also noted that female to male transgender people who wish to naturally deliver are at risk of sustaining new types of birth injury that have not yet been studied or investigated, which is unfortunately the case for a lot of this, rarely studied or not properly studied. Because apparently we would rather live in a world where it's believed that men can give birth through their surgically constructed yogurt rifles. Funnily enough, this midwife story popped up around the same time that Scotland decided to press forward with its controversial gender recognition reform bill. This would allow people who self-ID as the opposite sex without medical diagnosis to be issued a new birth certificate after 6 months living in their new gender, rather than the existing 2 years. It also lowers the minimum age for changing the sex on a birth certificate from 18 to 16. Scotland, do we need to have a conversation? Do you need something? A little hug? Maybe a little bit of a back rub? Maybe some common sense? Now, with that aside, in researching for this video, I came across a particularly absurd video from 2016 discussing whether or not it's possible for men to get pregnant. This lad referred to a male uterus as a deuterus.
And had a uterus, or a deuterus.
He also went on to say that because some pregnancies develop outside the uterus, which to be clear is abnormal, and they develop in the abdomen, and a few fetuses survive this, that means that perhaps men can be pregnant too, because you don't need a uterus to carry a baby. He also used the example of how male seahorses get pregnant, and at that point I just cut all my losses and built myself an igloo. I'm never coming out! Something that occurs to me too about all of this is that babies need a placenta to grow, and men don't make those. And like, even if they did, a baby would still have to be implanted in their abdomen and then stitched up and then unimplanted for them to give birth, unless they can give birth through their surgically constructed penis. Today we have Netflix giving us bizarre Japanese shows about a man getting pregnant. We have Apple giving us the pregnant man emoji that nobody asked for. And now there are a plethora of videos and content about men giving birth. Which makes me feel like all of this is being normalized in some capacity, like how we used to laugh at all the gender theory and then we turned around and it was in all our kids' classrooms. Nobody cares about your pronouns, Kathy. Nobody. Even back in 2008, Oprah Winfrey debuted a pregnant man on her show. Since then, we've seen articles, shows, interviews with these individuals, as if this is somehow something completely normal and natural that anyone can do. Now we change our language and our comprehension of an entire biological reproductive issue to suit. I've made a lot of content about the erasure of women, and I will continue to do so because it really bothers me. And on this specific occasion, I just find it totally absurd that people are being taught that biological men can give birth, and biological females transition to male can give birth through their surgically constructed weed whackers. Sadly, it's peak 2022, and although I'm not surprised, I maintain that this is extremely irresponsible. It's also patently untrue, and ultimately it undermines the specialness and uniqueness of mothers and women, which I am also coincidentally sick of. So there you go, dumbest thing I've seen in the longest time, men giving birth, sometimes through their meatus, being taught at university, because why not? Reality is just ridiculous. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder that you can check out Kemi Koto using the link in the description. In addition to their massive sale, which coincidentally lines up with Mother's Day, you also get an additional $50 off when you use my code at checkout. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Is this as ridiculous as I think it is? Do you believe that men can get pregnant and give birth? Do you believe that this is undermining women and the specialness of womanhood? Do you think that we have erased the specialness of womanhood and motherhood? Do you think that we have gone completely off the rails? Do you agree with this general sentiment? Do you agree with the inclusion of men when it comes to giving birth and pregnancy? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you like the video, hit subscribe and the thumbs up button. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, just be respectful about it. And I will see you guys next time.